Hello, I'm Eric Heath. I'm Senior Project Manager here at WWT, and I work on our Species Recovery Programme. And today I'm going to talk to you about our Severn Avon Vale Curlew Recovery Project and our Dartmoor Curlew Recovery Project. And I'm just going to focus on the headstarting elements of those projects. Okay, and for both of these projects, we should acknowledge that the source of the eggs are British and American air bases, primarily based in the east of England. And these are eggs that would previously have been destroyed under license from Natural England. And instead, we have been working with Natural England and partners on providing a solution for this otherwise wasted curlew egg resource that we all know is incredibly valuable. So yeah, both the Severn Avon Vale Curlew project, Headstarting project, and the Dartmoor project use those eggs. I'm going to start by talking about the Severn Avon Vale Curlew project. That is the site in the middle of this slide here, based around Slimbridge and kind of to the north and east of Slimbridge, following the Severn up into its tributaries. So in 2019, we were approached by Natural England to find a use for these eggs that were previously being destroyed from airfields, and we came up with this proposal to do headstarting. So in 2019, we collected 58 eggs from 16 clutches, and 56 of these eggs were viable, and then one failed to hatch, and 5 died in the rearing process. So of the 55 eggs that hatched, 50 fledglings were healthy and released into Slimbridge Reserve. And that's about a 90% success rate from hatching to fledgling. So that was a really positive start to the process. All these birds were colouringed, and we used a mixture of hard and soft release techniques. But yes, as I said, all within Slimbridge Reserve. We only did 1 year of headstarting in the Severn Avon Vale. So it's this 2019 cohort of birds that have been released. And we've been really fortunate to have been running the Severn Avon Vale Curlew project since then. So we have really fantastic coverage of those birds returning to attempt to breed within the Severn Avon Vale. But we're also really lucky at WWT to have like an extensive network of volunteers, and the Severn estuary is extraordinarily well covered and well surveyed part of the world. So we get really fantastic records of what those birds do and how they survive and where they're hanging out. And I really want to stress the quality of the survey team who are out running these things. I don't want to name check them now because I will almost certainly miss someone out, but really fantastic work that's been done for a number of years now. So the aims of the Severn Avon Vale Curlew project were to establish a partnership of people working in that area to really kind of garner support for curlew conservation in the area, and also we really wanted to look at the data behind various close audience management techniques, things like nest fencing, predator control, seeing what difference that makes to a small lowland population of curlew, and see if we can really kind of shift the dial on that survival. So the monitoring of those 2019 cohort release is a real kind of a bonus to this project, and just seeing how that goes. And we just got fantastic data showing where and how those birds are getting on. Looking into this resightings data in a little bit more detail, this table presents the resighting records split into the months and years that followed that 2019 release. So those birds are released kind of July, August 2019. So a high proportion of the released birds disappeared fairly shortly after release. 9 birds were never seen again post-release. 19 birds were seen post-release, but not after August 2019. So that's a maximum of 7 weeks post-release. So only 22 birds, 44% of the released birds, were detected again after August 2019. And of these 19, so that's 86.5% of that 44% were confirmed alive at age 1+, so that's on or after September 2020, and 18 or 81.8% were confirmed alive after 2 years. So these figures indicate that the expected high mortality during the first year was very much heavily concentrated in that post-fledging period when these birds are really naive. And then there was very, very high survival from kind of then on. So from early autumn and into that first year, survival was kind of, almost 90%. So, and it's impossible for us to make strong inferences about the fate of the 56 birds that disappeared shortly after release, because we can't we can't separate permanent emigration from the main resighting areas in the Severn Estuary from mortality. But we do know that 3 birds were not resighted during the July-August 2019, were subsequently found to be alive, and that all 9 birds found breeding areas away from the Severn Estuary were resighted in the estuary and during non-breeding seasons. So on to the really crucial part of this: where do these birds recruit, and what has been their kind of their breeding attempts? So of that 2019 cohort, those 50 birds, we know that 10 of them have been seen either at potential breeding sites or pre-breeding roosts during the breeding season. So that's April, June. So that is really, really positive news. That is Headstarting making a meaningful difference to our local curlew populations. Okay, so this map shows both the release site and the breeding locations where we have either recorded ourselves or been informed by partners and volunteers of breeding attempts of our 2019 Head Start cohort. So of those 50 birds released in 2019, 5 or 10% of those head-started birds have required territory in the Severn Avon Vale. That's the target population for that trial. So those birds were breeding between 14 and 37 kilometres from the release location. Then we have one that was over in the Brecon Beacons. That's about 60 kilometres away from the release site. And then we've got 3 in the Upper Thames Valley, between 60 and 100 kilometres away from the release site, and we've got 1 in Powell, so that's about 110 kilometres away from the release site. And then in terms of age of those birds, when they first turned up to breed, so we had 1 bird was first detected in a breeding area as a 1-year-old, and that bird was then resighted in 2023, attempting to breed in that location again. And then we had 3 birds recruited as 2-year-olds, 4 as 3-year-olds, 1 as a 4-year-old, and then last year we had 1 bird, 5-year-old, attempting to breed in the Severn Avon Vale for the first time. One of the things I love about this project is the level of detail that we can go into about the birds and where they've come from. So this table shows all of those birds that have attempted to breed that we know of, and we can trace them back to the clutch and the collection date, and indeed the RAF base that they came from. So these are all the breeding attempts, and you can see the various repeated attempts where birds have turned up again and again in the same places to breed or attempt to breed, and you can see along the left there the name of the RAF base that they came from. And the eagle-eyed amongst you will note that there's actually 11 rows in this table. The bottom one says Topcliffe 2022, and again you'll see that bird ID J5 is different from the numbered birds from that 2019 Severn Avon Vale Head Start release. We will come back to this bird because it's very interesting. Okay, so moving on to the Dartmoor Curlew project. This is centred on Dartmoor, you'll be surprised to hear, which I am hovering over with my mouse just now. So the Dartmoor Curlew project was started in 2021. It's funded by the King Charles Charitable Foundation, and it's delivered in partnership with Natural England, Duchy of Cornwall and Dartmoor National Park Authority. And the object of this project is to achieve, ultimately, is to achieve a self-sustaining population of breeding curlew on Dartmoor. And to achieve this, the project team have been releasing and subsequently monitoring captive reared curlew chicks into habitat on Duchy of Cornwall owned farmland that we manage specifically for curlews. The aim of the project is to release 125 birds over a 5-year period. So we started in 2021, so we've just finished our 4th year of that project. And part of it, there's also like a huge range of habitat enhancement measures and targeted predator control. And we know that this habitat management provides benefits to a wide range of other species and other delivers kind of priority habitat that we are interested in as an organisation, as are the National Park and Duchy of Cornwall. And we've also done loads of engagement work and community engagement using this charismatic bird to kind of facilitate that work. So this table shows the year and the number of birds released. And you can see there's quite a significant variation in that. Primarily, that's led by the availability of eggs from the airfields. The number of birds that number of eggs that we can collect depends entirely on the number of eggs found, and we are entirely dependent on the people working on those bases finding the nests in a timely manner. It is worth highlighting that 2023 year when we only released 21 birds. That was, I think, what everyone who's involved in Curlew headstarting in England would describe as an annus horribilis. It was a really, really challenging year, despite the fact that we've been doing headstarting for a number of years by that stage and we're feeling quite comfortable with the methods and what we were doing. We had health issues with lots of the birds that we hadn't seen in previous years, and really interesting, these were kind of seen across the board at all sorts of different Curlew headstarting projects that were taking place that year. So it was a really challenging year. It was also the first year that we did satellite tracking of birds in the Severn and Avon Vale, in the Dartmoor project. And that showed that actually those birds that we thought potentially were leaving Dartmoor and going off to do other exciting things with their lives were almost exclusively being predated. So that led to a real change in our approach in 2024. So we don't have a Severn and Avon Vale scale monitoring project for the Dartmoor releases. We do monitor the wild birds breeding attempts, and we have been trying to monitor returning birds, but the size of Dartmoor is sufficient to make that quite a needle in the haystack style operation. So and we know that the birds that were released on Dartmoor from the records that we have got back, they do seem to have quite a wide dispersal across the southwest. So in the years 2021 to 2023, only 9 individuals released on Dartmoor were resighted off Dartmoor, and that is quite significantly lower rates of resightings than we had from the Severn and Avon Vale. And the monitoring of wild curlew on nesting attempts in Dartmoor haven't recorded any returning head starts to known Dartmoor curlew breeding areas. But we do have increased records of curlews on Dartmoor during breeding season, and particularly in 2023. But really frustratingly, no confirmed ring readings or flags were seen or recorded during those periods. And the only Dartmoor head-started bird is the J5 bird from the table from the Severn and Avon Vale. So we know that bird generally overwinters near Wadebridge in the Camel Estuary. And so last year that bird almost certainly flew over Dartmoor, looked at Dartmoor, and then carried on and decided that what it really wanted to do was breed in the Severn and Avon Vale, which is, a really interesting result, slightly frustrating for us. That it decided not to breed on Dartmoor, but it does open up really all sorts of questions about the process of recruitment at breeding sites and the importance potentially of finding partners in those overwintering grounds. So after the really bad year that we had in 2023, we made some fairly significant changes to the Dartmoor project, and we really increased the level of lethal predator control, particularly targeting foxes in the area around the release site. We also erected a temporary electric fencing around the release site, and we did record birds returning to that to roost at night for the days that followed release. And these combined efforts seem to have made quite a significant difference to the survival of the released birds. So from the 2024 release cohort, we have records of 13 head starts off Dartmoor, and if you compare that to the 9 records that we have for the combined years of 2021 to 2023, it shows that feels like quite a significant shift. And we did benefit from those GPS tags. So we put 2 GPS tags on birds this year, and they did a variety of exciting things. The most exciting thing in this map that you can see was the bird that flew kind of in a oneer overnight over the Bay of Biscay before hitting the north coast of Spain. That was, if you're like me and following the process, the progress of these birds on your phone, on an app, just watching what the trackers are doing. That bird went offline for quite a long time, for 24 hours, before resurfacing on the north coast of Spain, which was very, very exciting. And then it rested very briefly before going all the way around the coast of Spain and Portugal before ending on a very nice SAC wetland down in southern Spain. So this is really, really exciting. These 13 resighted birds this year, including these 5 down in Spain and Portugal, which seems to suggest that whatever we did this year in 2024 seems to have been potentially much more successful than what we did in previous years. Okay, so I'm hopeful that I have given you an overview of the work that we've been doing on Dartmoor and on the Severn Avon Vale. So just all that is left for me to do is to thank you for listening, and for the and for all our partners for their help and support with all this work. Really want to stress the importance of funding that we get from the King Charles Charitable Foundation and from Natural England and their support too. And then we really do, we rely really heavily on the help and support of our partners in these projects, the Duchy of Cornwall and Dartmoor National Park Authority. And then we're working with other people who are doing this kind of thing across the country. So the BTO, Curlew Country, Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust, we all share information and we all work together. And I find it a really helpful and supportive network. So I wanted to acknowledge that here. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.